views expressed on this program are not those of intellectualradio.com, its subsidiaries, or sponsors. Encouraging, educating, and empowering you into action. This is Warriors Talk with your host, Lady ReShell.
Hello. Welcome to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we move away from awareness towards action. Tonight, we diving into a powerful conversation from diagnosis to daily action, small steps that make a big difference in cancer prevention and recovery. A diagnosis can feel overwhelming, but what if I told you that little things that you do every single day could shift your health and your healing journey? From the foods that we eat to how we move our bodies and the way that we care for our mind and our spirit. Small, consistent action can bring about big changes. So grab your water, your tea, your journals, and tag a friend to join in on the conversation as we talk about taking control of your health one step at a time. Because here on Warriors Talk, we're not just raising awareness, we're taking action. And if you tuned into the show last week, Rizal and I talked about the high cost of delaying healing in men. You can catch the replay of that show on Warriors Talk YouTube. Just type in at Warriors Talk with the number 1, or you can go to intellectualradio.com or Intellectual Radio on YouTube and stay connected for any episodes that you may have missed. The quote of the day is, "Awareness plants the seed, but action grows the change." Warriors Talk is so excited about our 9th annual Survivor Celebration and Reflection that's taking place on October the 18th at the Crystal Sky Banquet Hall from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. All survivors, supporters, caregivers are invited. Our theme for that day is United by Courage and Anchored by Faith. You will be in for an afternoon of inspiration, reflection, and celebration. We're celebrating and honoring all cancer survivors, as well as those warriors that are in battle. You can go to warriorstalk.org right now to purchase your tickets. We're also looking for vendors and sponsors as well. If you are tuned in on any form of social media, please like the show and share the show. Invite someone else in on the show that you feel may benefit from this valuable information. Warriors Talk is so grateful for our sponsor. We have Pastor Michael Richardson with the Emmanuel Church of God in Christ, who has a special message for us.
Greetings, I am Pastor Michael Richardson.
And I am First Lady Anastasia Richardson from the Emmanuel Church of God in Christ. We're located at 3058 West Van Buren in Chicago, Illinois. We are building upon a solid foundation.
And we're inviting you to join us every Sunday morning on Facebook Live at Emmanuel Kojic at 10:15 Central Standard Time. And you can also view our videos on our YouTube channel at Emmanuel Kojic-MR. Once again, this is Pastor Michael Richardson
and First Lady Anastasia Richardson, and we're from the Emmanuel Church of God in Christ. We are building upon a solid foundation.
Joining me today is our healthy solution expert with over 20 years experience, and she's impacting lives every single day, Dr. Michelle Meeks, MD. What's up, Doc?
Hello, hello, Lady ReShell. How are you today?
Good, good. How are you? I'm so excited. I'm so excited about the topic today.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm always in for, sharing knowledge and helping your listeners to, live their best healthy lives.
Absolutely. This topic hits home for me and many others that may be dealing with a cancer diagnosis, they're in recovery, or even if you have a life altering diagnosis and you just want to make healthier choices. So, we're going to talk about some of the things that you can do to make that happen. And I think we hear all the time, Dr. Michelle, that awareness, and early detection. If you catch cancer early, you have a better chance of, having treatment that would be beneficial. And I'm a person that doesn't like to just push awareness all the time. And that's why the slogan of the show is away from awareness towards action. And so today we do want to give individuals some things and actions that they can do when they walk away from the show today, why action actually matters.
Yeah, I mean, you said a lot there, right? Because a diagnosis of cancer or any major medical condition can be life-changing and overwhelming for folks, right? And a lot of times that overwhelm can stop movement. And we want you to, know that when you have a cancer diagnosis, that there are things that you can do, first of all, to live healthy through that diagnosis. And, Lord willing, if you recover from that diagnosis, how do you move forward from it? How do you move forward, with healthy mind, body, and spirit, which can be very, very difficult. But yeah, awareness is very important. We talk a lot on your show about screening, seeing your provider, making sure you're getting checked. All of that is important to make sure that diagnoses are caught early, which gives you the best chance for survival.
Absolutely. I want to play a quick video before we dive deeper into the topic that may give people a little bit of understanding as to why it's important to just move from awareness towards action.
If you are going through cancer treatments now, or maybe you're a cancer survivor, what are you doing to improve healing and to prevent a recurrence later? What you have to do is reduce inflammation. Many people after their cancer treatments think they're done. That's when you have to change your cellular environment to prevent a recurrence. Get rid of that inflammation. We have to get the lymphatic system flowing. We all have a network of vessels and nodes that must flow up to the major lymph vessels in our neck. If you have pelvic cancer, abdominal cancer, or breast cancer, is the lymph system able to flow and clear cellular waste that is probably creating your cancer and damage to your cells? So it's really about opening up the major lymph vessels in your neck. We do it with the Lymph Man shoulder shuffle. And of course, you have to know to eat a greener diet, take magnesium to improve lymph flow and relax the body, do some exercise and drink water. But opening up your lymphatic system can make you have more energy, more alive. So we put one shoulder up, one shoulder down, and we do that nice and easy if you have any pain. But if you don't have any pain, do it a little faster, 20 or 30 times, 2 or 3 times a day. And make sure you check out my profile and link tree for more information that'll really...
Oh, I love it. Yeah, he said a lot there, right? I mean, yes, when you are, living with that diagnosis, and what do you do during and after to prevent recurrence? We talk a lot about eating right, exercising, movement, and he said it there, right? Reduce inflammation. That's what eating healthy foods do. We talk a lot about the Mediterranean diet, which is really a plant-based, greens, nuts, all of those things, your fruits, your vegetables. If you haven't heard of it, your listeners, look up Mediterranean diet. We think it's great for inflammation, for your heart health. If we were going to promote anything, that's sort of the foundation. So, eating healthy foods is a great way to keep your body healthy and reduce inflammation. Reduce the pork, the red meat, the animal fats in your diet. Those are things that you can do before, during, and after your cancer diagnosis. I can't stress it enough. We talk all the time about how disease is rooted in unhealthy lifestyle behaviors, and that, genetics really accounts for maybe 10% of cancers overall, but it's all the environmental things that we can do to make a difference.
I wish when I was going through my cancer journey and even after, Dr. Michelle, just honestly, the doctors don't give you any type of direction to go in as it relates to food. My doctor didn't. And the many other survivors that I talked to, their doctors don't give them like recommendations on what, and I know they probably not supposed to. Maybe you're supposed to see a dietitian for that or a nutritionist for that. But just to say, hey, if you want to reduce your chances of cancer coming back or lower your risk, then I would suggest, or the best route to go is not 100% guaranteed, but make sure you are eating, less processed foods, or none of that is was said at all. It's
Yeah,
just you're done, go. And
yeah,
and I think that's what survivorship programs, a lot of them kind of cater to that, somewhat cater to that. But I feel like once you're released, there should be some sort of nutritional exit program that you have to go through before releasing you so
yeah.
that you can make those changes.
Yeah, I hope that's happening now. I'll say, my medical colleagues, when I was in medical school over 20 years ago, we had one day of nutrition training. It was one day, and everything else is about, right? We've got to learn your body, the good, the bad, and everything else. And no real importance was put on the nutritional education piece. So I know that that's where that comes from, but it takes us being more active and proactive, as a medical community to talk about that. And luckily we know more now than we did then on how all of the nutrition plays a part in disease, right? So I completely agree with you. As part of any cancer treatment, there should also be ongoing nutritional education from the beginning to throughout, on like what are you eating and what do you find most difficult to give up? How do we make little changes and all of that?
I totally agree. And I commend you for just going the extra mile to, educate us about nutrition because you don't have to. You know, I appreciate you just being honest and truthful as far as, nutrition portion is concerned because it's really important. And a lot of survivors struggle after going through treatment,
Yeah.
what to do, how to do it, and you want to do the right things, you want to select the right foods, and you want to be able to fuel your body with the necessary things that's going to help you reduce your risk. And a lot of times
Yeah.
we're just not given the education, and yes, you should take responsibility and seek out that information, ask questions, and see what it is that you can do to empower yourself to make better choices.
Yeah, one of the great things I like about your show is that, yeah, we may be missing some things in the medical community in sharing it with you all, but we want you to know that if your doc is not telling it to you, you ask the questions, right? You get the information you need. And that's one of the things that we do here, right? Go into your doctor's appointment with those questions. And the other piece is in our culture, a lot of nutrition is culture, right? And if you're not used to eating certain foods, if you didn't grow up on certain foods, I found that a lot of my patients, they just didn't know what to do or had ever tasted these things that we were talking about, know how to use it in foods, right? I remember talking to a patient and she was still cooking with lard and putting pork in her greens and all sorts of bad things, right? But that's how she was taught to cook. And then I was having this conversation with her about just butter and why you don't use lard, because the harder the butter, the more bad it is for you, the more trans fats it has. And so I would say, when you go to the store, look for that liquid butter. The butter in the bottle, the more liquid the butter, the better it is for you, because they're removing a lot of those bad fats. But if you look at it, the hard butter is cheaper than the more healthy options, and so that sort of weeds out who gets what. But we would have that conversation because she's like, well, this is what I cook with. But no, here's what you should be, and this is why. And this is where the medical community has to take some ownership to say, you can tell your patient a lot, you should be doing A, B, C, and D, but if they don't understand it, if they don't see the reason why, take that extra step to really explain it to them.
Yeah. And then I didn't know that a lot of like the meats or the foods that you eat can cause you to have the inflammation in your body. Like just selecting the right foods there are not going to have you to have a lot of times we know when food really don't agree with us, but our eyes are so big and we just, oh, I gotta have it, but then we suffer behind it. So just even selecting the right foods that are not going to cause those things to happen in your body, such as inflammation.
Yeah, yeah. We talk about, salmon and fish, and the omega-3s and how that can help our bodies, and eating fish 2 to 3 times a week. Some people are allergic, to fish and can't do that, right? And so they've got to get their omega-3s maybe from, healthier nuts and grains and other options. But again, if you don't know that, if you're thinking fish is where I get my omega-3s and I'm allergic to fish, so I'm done, that's where the nutritionist education comes in. And then also the red meats, the animal fats, looking for lean options when you can, and limiting those things in your diet as much as possible.
Absolutely. And I would say most insurance companies don't charge for the dietitian or
Right.
nutritionist. So ask about it, make an appointment. Because sometimes we may think, oh yeah, I'm doing fine. I'm getting my 3 meals a day, and you feel like you're getting what you need. And then you talk to one of them and you're like, oh wow, like, no, I'm really missing out on what I need to get. And a lot of times we try to use supplements because we're guessing that we're deficient in this area and that area.
Right.
And a lot of that stuff you can get from your food. But if you can't get it from your food, then you can get it from the supplements. But I would say talk to a nutritionist first to find out, what it is that you're doing, so they can help come up with a plan for you to make sure you're getting all the nutrition that you need in your body, especially if you went through a cancer diagnosis, because it takes so much out of you and you're having to rebuild, and it may leave you deficient in some areas that before you probably wasn't, and now you're having to recalculate your diet to, I don't like to say diet, but your lifestyle, to incorporate
Hmm.
those different things in there to make up what you're missing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. You said, nutritionists are usually covered by your insurance plan. A lot of insurance plans now have what they call wellness benefits. So you want to look into that, right? We tell people, use all your benefits. People think, oh, I have insurance, I'm just going to make sure I have a doctor. No, use all the other things that they're providing for you. Sometimes there's, a membership at a reduced cost to a local gym, or nutrition classes and things like that. So look into that too, to make sure you're using all your benefits.
And we always say knowing is half the battle. So when you know and you're aware, then you move past that and you start implementing different things that you can do. So just think of maybe one small change that you can do that you hear on the show today, and work on that. You don't necessarily have to try to do everything, in one setting. Just take one thing and work on that, maybe for the week or for the month, and then continuously incorporate it into your lifestyle.
Yes, so true. We didn't also talk about with eating healthy foods is cutting back on alcohol. You know, alcohol use is linked to breast cancer, lung cancer, I think even kidney cancer. And so, we keep we keep lowering it. We said, okay, well, for women, maybe one drink a day or whatever, a small glass of wine is okay. But now we're thinking, well, is any of it really okay? So I just say this, right? If you drink alcohol, think about how much you drink. And like you said, start cutting down on it, right? If you're having a glass of wine every night, maybe you go to every other night and then you go to maybe twice a week. We're not saying stop everything altogether, or maybe you just do it for occasions. But when we know better, right, we want to use that information and put it into action.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna put that under risky behavior because
Right.
sometimes you drink alcohol, then it tends to have you doing things that you wouldn't necessarily do. I did read somewhere, Dr. Michelle, that a lot of young people were being diagnosed with colon cancer, and
Mm,
it said that it was maybe a link. They were thinking there was a link to alcohol because when they're younger, they're in college, they're binge drinking and stuff, and then they said a lot of them they're having a lot of young individuals being diagnosed with colon cancer, and they're just wondering
right.
why. And they're
Right.
thinking that link to alcohol is the
Right.
reason why.
Yeah, we always talk on your show about, cancer is a multifactorial disease, right? Is it the more alcohol use, because we are seeing colon cancer in younger and younger patients? Is it the diet? Is it a combination of both of those things? And so we always say, whatever you can control, do it now and start when you're young, in your teens and 20s, so that you don't get that disease later in your life, right? It starts with making healthy choices right now.
The ripple effect goes with what you're saying. How one person's action can influence a family or community.
Yeah.
Whatever it is that you're doing, trust and believe your kids are going to be watching what it is that you're doing. Your family is going to be watching. If you're going to cookouts and you're constantly cooking, like all of the food that causes you to have inflammation or causes you to be pre-diabetic or contribute to high blood pressure, then the other people there are going to be eating the same thing, and it's a ripple
Yes.
throughout the family. So somebody has to start, you know, bringing in healthier choices or having that discussion so that the family can start, you know, getting rid of decreasing their risk of some of these diseases. You don't have to have these diseases.
Yes, I completely agree. I mean, it really is your children, your family, they learn consciously or subconsciously from what you do, right? I remember when my kids were younger, we've talked about this on your show before, that even when they were infants and toddlers, I would take 30 minutes to get on my treadmill and they'd be playing right in front of me. And I would just be walking on that treadmill. They'd come over. I said, no, wait. Okay. And so now in their 20s, they're both exercisers, right? They just kind of learn that behavior. They're both, and of course, I'm a doctor, so I'm always talking to them about, diet and exercise. But they learn that from seeing me. And the same thing with food, I remember when they were younger, when they would ask me for a snack or something that was junk, I would ask them, I would say, well, what did you have today was healthy? What did you eat today that was good for you? Did you have an apple? Did you? So you're having them think about that. And that's some changing how we think about food, right? We're not saying give up everything that you
Right.
like. Have some chocolate, have some chips, but also, right, make sure you're balancing it all out.
Absolutely. I totally agree. This one says, stay at a healthy weight and be active.
Be active. And it's not just when we talk about exercise, like the gentleman said at the beginning of the show, it's about reducing inflammation and even the movement that he was talking about opens up your muscles and the lymphatics and we talk about, oh, we get the blood flowing, but we're also getting the lymph, which is the helps to clear out inflammation in your body. You're getting everything flowing. So I always tell patients, I'm not telling you to exercise just to lose 10 pounds. I'm telling you to exercise because it reduces inflammation, it gets the blood flowing, it releases toxins, it helps your depression, all of those things. So as we think about movement, we're not thinking about it just for losing weight. You may not need to lose weight. but you do need to keep your body healthy and reduce inflammation and reduce the chances that you get certain diseases in your life. And we know, we've talked about how obesity is related to lots of cancers, including, breast cancer. And so staying at a healthy weight and just being physically active. We talk about doing 150 minutes a week of moderate exercise. So if you're thinking about what you're doing, if you're not getting 150 minutes, that's what we recommend as being really the ideal. That's like what, 30 minutes, 5 days a week? Or if you exercise an hour at a time, that might be 3 days a week. Um, Try to get that in. If it's walking outside now that the weather, is nicer, get to walking outside, do that for 30 minutes. Take your dog for a walk, find a class, line dancing, anything that gets you moving, is what we recommend.
Yes, I've started walking on my lunch. It's just 15 minutes, but it's me getting some vitamin D and also just getting my body moving. And a lot of times I'll still come home and do my 30 minutes when I get home. But if I know my schedule is tight, I know that I got that 15 minutes in while I'm there.
Right.
And then sometimes I'll do squats while I'm at my desk. I just remember and I'll just do 10 squats because I'm sitting. And so I try to make sure that, I'm not just sedentary all day. So I'll do some squats. And believe me, it helps. It refuels me, it rejuvenates me. And I feel like I'm doing something. I'm taking control of my health.
Yes, every little bit helps. I'm going to show you. I'm sitting at my office desk right now. I have these little bands, right? We think of, and I'll just be pulling in, I'll be reading something, and I'm just doing stuff, right? Move, because we are all sitting
Right.
all day. A lot of us are working remote, and we don't walk as much as we used to. Every little bit helps, and that's what you're saying. We tell patients all the time, if you get 10 minutes 3 times a day, it's just as good as 30 minutes all at once. Just get moving.
And so there's a statistic that says only 55% of adults in the US gets the recommended amount of physical activity each week, and that's according to the Center for Disease Control.
Yeah, and that might be even overreported because we tend to think we're doing as better than we are, right? But still, half of the population is not moving, right? And that is keeping us sick, right? So, as much as you can, whatever you're able to do at your desk, walking around, and we talk about parking further in the parking lot, taking the stairs when you can. Every little bit adds up, right? Because we know having a sedentary lifestyle not only increases your risk of cancer and obesity, but it increases the risk of obesity, diabetes, even arthritis, because those muscles get stiff. And so I can't stress enough the lifestyle changes that we talk about on your show and how important those are.
Yes. I even went to my mom's house and brought my yoga mat, and we did on YouTube, it says walk at home. So I pulled up the walk at home video. I think it's by Leslie, and it was a 30-minute video. And I did it with her and my uncle, who is in his 70s, and my mom is 80. And we did the video. And I said, just do it at your
Awesome.
pace. You don't necessarily have to, do all of the movements, do it at your own pace. And we did it. And now I'm like, this is something you can do at home. If you can't get out, if the weather is bad and you can't get out, you can do this in the comfort of your own home. But my mom, she would rather go walking outside.
Good for her.
She loves to walk outside, or she'll go to the park where they have the silver senior park.
Silver sneakers. Yeah.
Yeah, yes. And she gets on the treadmill, and so she loves to get out and do hers. But I'm like, if you can't get out, you have no excuse. You can, just go on YouTube and do your walking exercise. And I'm just saying, remove the excuses. We have to be able to take charge of our health. Something
Yes.
simple as typing in a YouTube video in the comfort of your home, whenever you want to do it at home. And you can break it up. Like you said, you could do 15 minutes in the morning, 15 minutes when you get home. You can break it up. If you're saying, oh, I don't have enough time. If you don't have enough time now, then guess what? When you get sick, it may
You
be
won't
too
have
late.
time.
You won't have
Yes.
time. So make the
Yes.
time today to take care.
Yes. We can't stress that enough. And like you said, there's really no reasons why we can't get it in. I used to tell patients, If you're watching TV at the commercial break, get up and walk around your couch. Do for that 2 minute break or whatever the commercial break is, squat up and down. Get up, sit down, get up, sit down. That's a good workout, right? So there's no way to say that we don't have time. Those are reasons or excuses, but in order to take control of your health and break the cycle, you've got to start. It's just start.
I want to play a video which surprised me, but not surprising, but I think a lot of people need to hear it.
People who exercise at least 30 minutes a day have a decreased risk in 13 types of cancer.
Are those all metabolic cancers?
Correct. Yes. Likely, she also found that if people start to exercise after a cancer diagnosis, their survival rate increases. She found this in 3 cancers: breast cancer, prostate cancer, and colon cancer cells. You also have to remember, tumors have a blood supply. They're hungry. You need to cut off the blood supply. How do you do that? With natural killer cells. Well, how do you get the natural killer cells in there? It's via exercise.
It is
so exercise is medicine.
Yeah.
It's preventative medicine and it's curable medicine.
Yeah, I mean, she said it there, right? Even when we know that when you exercise, it is linked to almost better prognosis of how you do during your cancer, how you live after your cancer, right? Exercising during your cancer diagnosis. Yes, there are times where you will feel weak and fatigued and not able to, but so important to try to start, even if you never did before, right? For those people who are listening, or if you know folks who are going through and they have not been moving and they've not been exercising, motivate them. Say, hey, let's go 5 minutes, 10 minutes, let's go outside, do a walk, or like you said, like you took that video to your parents, to your mom. Do that for someone that you know is in need, because there is a definite direct link between your exercise and your inflammation, your ability to live healthy through your diagnosis. She said, and that's exactly what we know. It's food. We talk about food as medicine, exercise as medicine too.
So there's 2 things that we can control: putting stuff in our mouth and getting our bodies moving. That's 2 things that we can control on a daily basis. And we're not saying that you have to be perfect at it, but we're saying that if you're doing it every single day, then you become consistent with it. It becomes a habit. It becomes a lifestyle.
Yes. And it's breaking the chains. It's
Yep.
breaking the chains and starting, like we said, it's food, it's exercise, it's reducing the stress and in your body and in your mind. We haven't even talked about the emotional health that we go through when you have a cancer diagnosis, and how you take care of that, right? Because even the emotional stress of having cancer also increases inflammation, increases your cortisol levels, decreases the good hormones in your body, and makes that cancer even more worrisome. And so taking care to meditate, to talk to someone, to have a therapist, to take 5 minutes, when we talk about, which we haven't talked but today, about meditation, and just stopping. Because if you think about it, from the time we wake up to the time we go to bed, our mind is always active. We're thinking, oh, what I have to do today, what didn't I do today, what do I have to do tomorrow. We're always thinking, always making decisions, always adding stress to our brains and our bodies and our cells. And so it takes to start with 5 minutes of releasing your brain, releasing your mind from the constant decision making and stress that we go through every day. And that means sometimes turning everything off. I started meditating, and that's just taking 10 deep breaths in and out, in and out. And if you can do that a couple of times a day, you feel the weight sort of release itself, right? So when we talk about taking care of your mind, we talk about meditating, we're talking about yoga. I love my yoga, right? That's also the time to stretch those muscles, to move in a way that if you can't do a lot of movement, you can still do stretches and those yoga movements that really not only help your body, but help your mind as well.
Yes. I can remember going through my cancer diagnosis, and I don't know who, I don't know if this person was a doctor or a nurse, but I just remember them coming in my room, and the one thing they was talking to me about was exercising, and they was like, "Do you exercise?" And I was like, "Yes." They was like, "Keep it up. Make sure you continue to exercise." And I swear I didn't see that person no more throughout the upstairs. I don't even know who it was, but that was
Right.
one thing that they said to me, and I could just remember going through chemo and then just getting out walking. It was a track by my house, and I would just walk. And although I was fatigued, whenever I could get out, I would just take my time and just walk around that track as many times as I could. So I tried to stay active throughout my cancer diagnosis. And trust me, I was every Friday night after I had chemo, I was dancing that night. I went dancing. That
Nice.
I would dance, and I don't even know where that energy came from, but I
Mm,
would dance that night, and it was a way for me to kind of just release the stress of everything
yes.
I was going through. I would just get on that dance floor. I didn't even have to have a partner, and I would just release everything I
Good.
was going through.
Yeah.
And yeah, and I would look forward to doing that. So it,
And
it
that's a great point. That's find the thing that brings you joy that you don't want to necessarily give up, right? That one thing that you always wanted to do or you had been doing or always thought about doing it, add that in. Let that be the motivation to get moving.
yes. And I know we're kind of like jumping around with the
Oh,
numbers, but
yeah.
that's okay. We're talking about cancer prevention tips as it relates to from diagnosis to daily actions, just small things that you can do that make a big difference. And one of them is don't use tobacco.
Oh man, we talked about this as far as tobacco and what it does not only for your heart health, right? But we know that tobacco is linked not only to the oral cancers, but also bladder cancer, cervical cancer, some linked to breast cancer. And so the best thing I always tell a patient is if you smoke, stop. Easy for me to say, right? But the good thing is we do have great tools to help people. I always ask people if they've tried to quit before, what worked and what didn't, right? So whatever worked, we're going to incorporate that into your new strategy, along with some medical options, right? We know we have medications that can help. We've got nicotine patches. We also think that things like meditation can help. Having a good support group helps, but one of the best things that you can do is quitting smoking. And now I think we'll learn more about because more young folks are not necessarily starting to smoke cigarettes, they're starting to smoke marijuana. And so hopefully we don't see any linkages as we do, right, with tobacco to these oral cancers. But yes, I mean, tobacco is definitely linked to the bad cancers. All cancers are bad, but pancreatic cancer, gastric cancer, esophageal cancer, bladder cancer. And the longer that you have smoked, the more is your risk. But the day you quit smoking, you decrease your risk. And so we don't care how long you've been smoking. The day you quit, you start to decrease your risk in that inflammation in your body.
Wow. And that's amazing because my father passed from lung cancer.
Mm,
He smoked for a very long time, tried to quit, was not able
it's
to.
hard.
So yeah, tobacco and secondhand smoke. If somebody is smoking around you,
Yes, yeah, we don't talk about that enough because we think secondhand smoke, if you live with parents who smoked, and that's all that you had been exposed to from the time you were a child, that also increases your risk. We think it's just as bad as being the smoker, right? And so if you think that you've been around smokers all your life, you also want to be sure that you're getting, checked and screened and getting blood work done. And if you're having any sort of symptoms, are you coughing? Are you short of breath? Anything that may be, we may say, oh, it's nothing. You want to definitely get checked. We didn't even talk about making sure you're getting your screening and going to your doctor at least annually to get all those screening and preventative tests done.
Let's talk about protecting ourselves from the sun, because a lot of Black people, I don't know if this myth going around that we don't need sunscreen.
Oh, we definitely do, right? Yes, our melatonin has some protective effect, but not completely. And if you are going to be out in the sun, for any length of time, absolutely, we should be wearing sunscreen because African Americans can get melanoma as well. And we say the sun is good, right? Because the sun gives us vitamin D. Vitamin D is important for inflammation, for our bones, for some cancer risk. So we want to get that vitamin D, but you want to be sure that you're not, out for hours in the sun without sunscreen because melanoma and skin cancers, other skin cancers, basal cell cancer can be very dangerous. Luckily, and for African Americans, because we don't think that we can get skin cancer, we're not looking at our spots and things and checking as fair-skinned adults would. But that's important too. But I will say that walking outside and getting the vitamin D from the sun is good for us, right? We already said that vitamin D can be protective and have anti-inflammatory properties. We have to do that in moderation. I recommend getting your vitamin D level checked if you know you're never outside, if you have aches and pains, sometimes that could be related to a low vitamin D level, and that needs to be checked as well.
What about getting vaccinated to help as a prevention tip?
Yes, so we know there's right now two vaccines, the HPV vaccine, which can prevent against cervical cancer. We recommend that girls and boys, I believe starting in their tweens, get that HPV vaccine so that if they are exposed to the HPV virus, they don't get that certain type of high risk HPV that can lead to cancer. The hepatitis B vaccine that can also not only help prevent hepatitis B, but it also can help prevent some type of liver cancers. And so those are two things that we think of right off the bat as far as preventing cancers. We could talk about vaccinations and childhood vaccines on another show and how we know that those are very helpful for preventing other illnesses. But for cancers in particular, we think about the HPV vaccine and the hepatitis B vaccine.
What about just getting regular medical care, like going to the doctor as you should for your necessary screenings or your annual wellness check?
Yeah, very important. Women, we tend to get to the doctor more regularly than men for a number of reasons, right? We're getting our female exams and things like that. So we tend to get our checkups a little bit more regularly than men. I would say for the men who are listening, it's very important for them to also go at least once a year because a lot of things have no symptoms, right? And by the time you get symptoms, you have a more advanced state of disease, right? Not only from cancer, but for diabetes, for high blood pressure, for heart disease, all the other things we've talked about on your show. So I can't stress enough how part of that prevention is getting your regular medical checkup. We check certain things, right? We're checking your blood counts. We can see if those blood counts are kind of not quite normal. Maybe we need to go looking a little bit more. We're checking your kidney function. We're checking your liver numbers. We check calcium numbers. We might check your vitamin D. We check thyroid. There's a lot of different things that we check on those regular exams. Plus, we're going to ask you a lot of questions that you may not even be thinking about that may lend us to say, huh, maybe we need to go a little bit deeper with this. And so we want to be able to catch any of those things early in this cycle to give you the best chance for survival.
What about after a diagnosis? Someone just finished treatment, which could be a huge relief, but that journey is not over once you're done with treatment. What would you say, Doc, are, I would say, three top actions that someone should take to protect themselves?
Yeah, I mean, really, after that diagnosis, there's a lot of feelings I think that someone will go through. Some of that is uncertainty about the future. What can I do? Am I cleared to exercise, right? What do I do now? And so a lot of the things that we talked about before, right? After that diagnosis is continuing to eat healthy and get moving, but also taking care of your mind, getting a good support system, right? Of folks who may have gone through what you've gone through. That is really very helpful to have someone to talk to about how you're feeling after that diagnosis and allowing yourself to feel whatever it is you feel. It's normal, right? But I would say for someone after that diagnosis is to get a support system, and start that health journey if you had not been, right, and talk to those people that we talked about. Get a nutritionist, be more proactive about your health, and get moving.
What would you say are some of the barriers that people may face when it comes to now they know what to do? It's just a matter of how do I stick to this? And I agree with the support system, having a accountability partner that would maybe help you, make sure
Yes.
you're supposed to do. Because a lot of times we try to, oh, I can do it by myself, but sometimes you need somebody to help you.
Yeah. Yeah, and some of the barriers too is really what we call our health literacy. How do we know what to do and how to do it? And if your provider is not talking to you, or even the wherewithal, the places to get healthier food options in your community, right? We know these structural barriers exist, right? Um, do you have the ability to get those foods that you need at a good financial place? Do you live in a community where you feel safe to walk outside to get that exercise? Does your community have a community center where you can get that support as well? And so some of the barriers to really taking care of our health, cancer before and after, some of it comes from community barriers, structural barriers in our communities, our own health literacy about what it is I know and understand. And that's where having that community is so important. And things like your show to share this knowledge, to remove the barriers, to know that it's okay when you go to the doctor to ask questions, to write it down, write your questions down on a little pad. I say no more than three per visit, right? Because the doc only has so much time at that visit. But what are your three most pressing things you want answered from your doctor? And bring that with you so that you can get those answers that you need, right? Ask about what other supports are available in their office through your insurance so that you use all the wellness benefits that are available to you.
Absolutely. And I was just wanting to ask the listeners some questions as it relates to your health. Like, what is one of the healthy habits that maybe you are proud of that you have changed and you have kept it up? Or what is one of the changes that you've been meaning to do, but you just keep putting it off? Sometimes we put things off and say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow, I'll do it tomorrow. And then think about those habits that you may feel like that are harder to do, starting a new habit. what is keeping you from doing it or keeping it up? Like what distractions are getting in your way? Think about that and how to remove those distractions. Also think about if you ever skipped an appointment or your annual visit because you said, "Ooh, I feel fine. I don't have nothing aching on me. I don't really have to go. I'll see them next year." Like, think about, have you ever skipped an appointment because of that, or maybe pushed an appointment back because of that, which can also, for a cancer survivor, it could either delay a recurrence, them finding a recurrence, you going to the doctor, or even a diagnosis if you don't haven't been diagnosed with anything. So think about just the small things that you can do daily that can help reduce your risk, stay on top of your health, and then also help you be consistent. That's a lot to think about,
Yes.
but those are some things you can start thinking about what you want to do to take charge of your health.
That's right. That's right. Making some changes, right? Things that you may not have thought about doing before, and what's stopping you from doing those things. Those are key questions.
Yeah. We covered a lot, Dr. Michelle, talking about from diagnosis to daily action, small changes that can make a big difference. And I know for myself, I decided back in 2018 that I did not want to eat meat. I found myself at 175 pounds, which was heavy for me. And a doctor was like, "You're pre-diabetic." And I said, "Okay, I got to get this weight off and, get to a weight to where I'm not in that range." So I just decided not eating meat helped me get there faster. And also, I wanted to start eating healthy after my cancer diagnosis. I didn't want to do business as usual. So that was my reasoning for not wanting to eat meat. Because a lot of people always say, "Why you don't eat meat?" Or they'll say, "Well, do you eat fish?" No, I eat no meat at all. So for me, I struggle. It hasn't been like an easy journey with this. I struggle daily just trying to get my protein intake in.
Hmm.
I do the nuts, I do the beans, I do my avocados. I in the morning I do my oatmeal, I do the granola with the fruit. I even do like yogurt, protein yogurt, put the granola in there. It adds to the protein of the yogurt. Like little things that I can do. I do my dark chocolate. I like
Good.
chocolate, but the dark chocolate is healthier for me. So I do that.
Yeah.
I cut down like a lot of sweets in my diet. When you cut it down and you're not constantly eating it and you're filling your filling your body with like the healthier things and you really don't have the taste for it, those things, those tastes kind of like it's easy for you to say no to those things. So those things have helped me with the exercising. I really try to stay consistent with the exercising. I do it probably 6 days a week, 30 days, 30 minutes a day. Where I struggle, Dr. Michelle, and you already know this, is with my sleep.
Hmm.
Well, I do. I try to get into bed earlier so that, it helps me because I know your body is doing a lot when you're sleeping. It's helping to
Mm.
repair cells when you're sleeping, especially if
Yes.
you're exercising. How is your body going to recover if
Yes.
you're not getting that sleep? So that's one area where I know that I really need to improve in. And then also, I feel like hydration with me as well. Just, making sure that I'm getting enough water in, but I could also not just concentrating on getting it from, me drinking it, but getting it from my food as well. I could get it from the fruits as well. There's different foods that I could eat to give me hydration. So those
Yeah.
are the two areas where I feel like I can improve in, that would really help me and my body would feel it would be beneficial for me.
Yeah, and you said a lot there because what you have done is made a conscious effort to make those daily changes, right? You took stock of what was going on, what you were doing well, what you needed to improve on, and then you make some conscious changes to work on those. And that's what we're telling folks to do, right? Is to think about, what your habits are right now and what you can do every day to change some of those, to improve some of those, right? If it's not getting enough sleep, which we didn't really talk about, but that does add stress to your body. Do you go to bed half an hour earlier every night to try to start to get to that 7 to 8 hours a night of rest, right? If you're not moving at all, you're doing great with 30 minutes a day. But if you're not moving at all, how do I start with 10 minutes at a time, right? And so that's what we're asking your listeners to do, is to take stock of what is going on in your world, in your life, and where you're going to take this information and make some positive changes.
Absolutely. So I'm not perfect. I'm trying on a daily basis. It's a
Oh,
daily thing for me to just make conscious choices that will contribute to me decreasing my risk of a recurrence, or
yes.
even lowering my risk of becoming a diabetic, because there's something that runs in my family. And also, I mentioned that I went to the doctor for my annual, and my blood pressure was high. It was like 169 over, I don't know, 70 or 90 or whatever. And the doctor was talking about putting me on, high blood pressure medicine. And I'm just like, wait, what is it that I can do to help these numbers? And I took my blood pressure yesterday. It was 115 over, I want to say
Awesome.
115 over 65 or something like
That is
that.
great. That
I've
is
been
great.
really working to get it in a healthy range. And so I've been taking it at least once a week to see where I am, and just, trying to make choices of things that I can control, whatever's within my control. That's
Yeah,
what I'm trying to do, because it helps me. I'm a consistent person. When I start doing something, it's not hard for me to be consistent with it. So especially when I see the benefits of it, I'm seeing that my numbers are going down. And
yes,
my goal is, Dr. Michelle, is to learn how to do those things and then educate my people on
yes,
how to do it as well. Not just to be like all preachy, preachy. No, I want to be able to educate other individuals and say, hey, this is what I did. This helped me.
right.
Maybe it can help you. Maybe it can help the next person. I want to see us all win. I want to see us all be healthy. I want to see us all live a long
Yes,
time. I want to see us all have a good quality of life, run and play with our grandkids, and be able to get around on our own. And I want to be able to just, live healthy and share that information with other individuals. So
yes, yeah.
as we wrap up the show, before you, because I know you got some gems that you want to drop. Um, I just want you to, whatever you were going to say next, but give the listeners some words of wisdom as to how they can move from diagnosis to taking daily action and those small changes to make big changes in their lives.
Yeah, thank you for sharing your journey, Lady Rochelle. That is really powerful in the things that you've learned going through your journey. But, for your listeners out there, it's really right, as you did, think about and take stock of your situation, right? Everybody's situation is different. Think about what are the things that you can do on a daily basis, from the nutrition piece to the movement piece to the mindfulness piece, right? And think about every day making a little bit of change. With the healthy nutrition, we talk about the Mediterranean diet. If you don't know about it, go and look it up and choose from that diet a few things you want to add to your diet, right? You may look at it and be like, I can't do all of that. We're not asking you to do that. We're asking you to add some of those changes. And as you do that, it will become habit over time. So that's one thing from the nutrition piece. From the exercise and movement piece is, as you heard in the videos, right? The movement is decreasing inflammation, reducing your risk of cancer. We didn't talk at all about weight loss when we talked about movement and exercise, because that's not what it's about. We're talking about decreasing your inflammation, and we're talking about reducing your cancer risk. So take 10, at least 10 minutes a day. If you can work up to 30 minutes a day and move your body. Get up from that chair, walk around your couch, get outside and walk for 10 to 30 minutes. And then for the mindfulness, it's really one of the things Lady Rochelle said: sleep. Sleep rests your mind, allows your mind to restore and rejuvenate. So work on that. If you are not getting 7 to 8 hours, try to get to bed at least a half an hour earlier every week so you can get to that 7 to 8 hours. And then if you're not meditating, just stopping and stop the movement, stop the continuous thoughts and planning and thinking about what's next. Take 10 deep breaths. Turn down the phone, turn off the TV, take those 10 deep breaths, talk to a nutritionist, get moving, and really think about that mindfulness piece as you navigate your journey through any significant medical disease and specifically cancer.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Dr. Michelle. I appreciate your experience and your wisdom every single month that you graciously share with listeners. Know that we appreciate it, you guys. How can they follow you, Dr. Michelle?
Yeah, I am on Facebook as Doc Michelle. They can also find me tagged on your page if they would like me to do any speaking engagements for their community. I'm always available virtually or in person. But yeah, they can find me on Facebook at Doc Michelle.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I will see you next month.
Thank you. Take care.
You guys, I want to highlight my sponsor, Gloria Dotson with Mary Kay. She's catering to all of your beauty needs from head to toe. You can go to marykay.com/GDOTSON. Please make sure you tell her that Warriors Talk sent you. And Warriors Talk is always looking for individuals who want to share their journey. It doesn't necessarily have to be a cancer journey, you guys. If you have an inspiring story that you want to give someone else hope, then you can hit me up via the inbox, or you can just email me at warriorstalk1@gmail.com. Don't forget about our 9th annual Survivor Celebration of Reflection Gala coming up on October the 18th. You can go and get tickets today on warriorstalk.org. And Warriors Talk is a lot going on. Coming out with a new book anthology titled When Warriors Talk, Faith Emerges. I have some new authors who are going to be showcased at our 9th annual Survivor Celebration and Reflection Gala. So I want you guys to make sure that you attend, come out and support them as well. And as always, I will leave you with some words of wisdom. Small steps today can rewrite your history tomorrow. Make sure you tune in next Monday right here at 6 p.m. on Intellectual Radio. As always, thank you for tuning in to Warriors Talk with author and founder Lady ReShell, where we are changing lives one warrior at a time.
Thank you for listening to this week's edition of Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell. To get more information on Warriors Talk, follow at Warriors Talk, the number 1 on all social media outlets, and Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell on YouTube. Listen next week and every Monday evening at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time to Warriors Talk with Lady ReShell, where we encourage, educate, and empower you into action.